In the Navajo Nation, many residents still live off the electrical grid, making it challenging to live their day-to-day lives. Special correspondent Fred DeSam Lazaro recently traveled to the sprawling reservation, which is spread across parts of New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. It's part of our weekly segment on the leading edge of science and technology.
Neighbors and visitors are few and far between in much of the Navajo Nation in northeastern Arizona. So Grace White was especially happy to get a recent visit from Melissa Parrish, who works for the Navajo Electric Utility. 75-year-old White survives and even speaks much like her ancestors did, living in a mud hogan with neither electricity nor running water.
I use kerosene for lighting and wood to heat my home. Fresh food doesn't last more than a day or two. So for meat, I dry it in the sun to make jerky.
For more than 60 years, she and her family have tried to get connected to the electrical grid. They've even built a more modern building on their homestead with light fixtures and electrical outlets just waiting to be hooked up. But it would cost more than $40,000 to do so. That's money she does not have.
This thing doesn't work.
1/3 of the homes in Navajo Nation, about 18,000 of them, have no access to grid electricity.
Now wires swing out to the country.
Back in the 1930s and 40s, the federal government provided loans to utilities to connect rural and remote areas to the grid under the Rural Electrification Act. However, the Navajo Nation, like many reservations, was bypassed. Utilities didn't typically serve native lands and opted not to expand into them. The irony is that the Navajo Nation is a huge exporter of electricity. The biggest coal-fired plant west of the Mississippi is here, churning out power that is sold to millions of customers in Arizona, Nevada, and California. What the Navajo Nation did get from the plant and coal mine that fed it is employment, more than 1,000 jobs. But now even that could soon be lost. The plant's Phoenix-based owners plan to shut it down next year.
It's challenging and it's frustrating.
Navajo Council Speaker Lorenzo Bates says the unemployment rate as it is 50% on the reservation, which now stands to lose not only the jobs, but many people who hold them.
It's either take a transfer or you're out of the job. Breadwinners of the family are literally forced to go someplace else to work.
He says the mine and power plant pay some $30 to $40 million in annual taxes and royalties, which are needed by the tribe.
Youth programs, any social services.
Tribal leaders are trying to find a buyer for the plant to avoid the shutdown. It won't be easy. Many energy experts, including the plant's current owners, say cleaner burning natural gas is cheaper than coal. Others see a new opportunity. With its wide-open, wind-blown spaces and abundant sunshine, many here in Navajo country see the solution to its energy needs in renewables. And the first major installment in that direction is something called the Kayenta Solar Project, a massive array of solar collectors that's big enough to power at least 13,000 homes. Plans are already underway to double the size of this array, and within 5 years it is expected to generate nearly the same amount of power as the Navajo generating station.
I want to see how much voltage is coming from here.
23-year-old Tassi Malala says solar is the only way forward. He helped build this solar field, which also launched his career.
I learned everything from the bottom up, from the piles in the ground to installing all the hardware, managing my own crew, to actually setting up the communications here that go back to the control center.
Nearly 300 people were employed during the construction of the solar array. Most of them, like Tassi Malala, were Navajo.
Having these jobs open up, it's really opening up, a lot more doors for, younger generation kids or even people in high school.
However, once construction was done, few jobs remained. Tassi Malala was hired by the company that built the array, but much of his work is off the reservation, from South Carolina to Georgia and now California, working on new installations. And And that's the problem that Tassi's father, George Malala, has with renewables. He says coal has been a reliable source of energy and stability.
For me, coal is a long-term years of employment. They employ a lot of people compared to natural gas and solar.
He's a mechanic in the coal mine, which likely will close down with the power plant, tearing apart community and lifestyle, in his case, the popular hobby of rodeo.
It's family, you know, that's going to break up. It's going to be nothing but ghost towns, you know. We've seen it through history.
There's a classic generational divide here. Coal has brought a good living to the father. Solar promises a good one to his son. But few people argue with protesting employees and their supporters that nothing could soon replace the economic impact of the Navajo generating station. But large solar fields won't bring electricity to people living far from the grid, so the tribal utility has begun installing off-grid home units. About 3,000 panels have been installed so far, but the utility says resources are limited, and many more families are on the waiting list. 78-year-old Glenda Ashley recalls what it was like to live without a refrigerator.
When we buy meat, we had the old refrigerator out there, freezer, and we leave it out there for overnight. It was colder out there.
But you could not store meat for longer than a night?
No.
6 years ago, she got an off-grid solar system that now powers a refrigerator. It's brought convenience and huge savings from fewer trips to the grocery store. The nearest one is a 45-minute drive.
It really is a help.
She still needs to conserve to keep the appliance going. Too many lights or too much TV could drain the limited power stored in the unit's batteries. Limited as it is, an off-grid system would be a huge improvement for Grace White, but the utility's parish could only promise she'd be back soon, no fixed dates, with a solar installation. It could be months or even years away. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred DeSam Lazaro in the Navajo Nation.
Fred's reporting is a partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.